Here we are.
What is going on?
Elvis has left the building, or she's gone downstairs to go to sleep.
Oh, well, there's timing.
Yep, that worked out well. My daughter was here, so you guys didn't get to see her this time. But if you're friends with me on Facebook, you've seen her a lot.
We thought she was going to be part of the crowd here today. Hi, Sharon.
Yeah, she'd be the one making sense.
Yeah, exactly. So how are you this week?
All right. Other than Friday, Friday was a trip, but the rest of the week was okay. I mean, a literal trip because I, doubled up on my anxiety meds on accident. So the whole PPD crew got to get a couple messages from me. It's like, oh, it's normal when you're kind of hovering above your chair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Heather. Yeah. Hi, Amaret. So you were supposed to take your diabetes meds.
Yeah, and I had not slept well the night before, and they were similar shape. And these are problems I'm supposed to be having in about 20 years, but I just decided to skip to the crappy parts of life.
There you go. Eeyore. Hi, Michelle.
Yeah, that's in the middle of my daughter's name, Lee Eeyore. So there you go.
There you go. So we're letting people roll in, and then we're going to be bringing Martha in after that. So as soon as you come in, make sure to say hi. And also, in the comment section, hi, Chris. And remember to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. So that way we can see your name. Otherwise, it's just going to call you Facebook user. And you want to authorize StreamYard application on Facebook. So that way we can see you there. Obviously, if you're on the YouTube site and you're watching us there, it won't matter. But any place that you happen to be watching us via Facebook, be sure to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Hi, Audrey.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Eeyore because I always like the connection that the same person that voiced him for Disney voiced Optimus Prime for Transformers.
Really?
Yeah, Peter Cullen. So I say those are my two big influences. So big giant robot and depressed donkey.
And you mix them together?
And yep, there you go. I'm emotionally a robot, but I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, I think it's in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The big giant, the giant-headed robot who's depressed all the time. Anyway.
Yeah, I forgot his name, but I know Alan Rickman did him in the U.S. movie. Yeah.
So anyhow, so we're letting people roll in a little bit here.
Yeah,
one more minute, and then we'll jump into news and stuff. So that way we can move on and Marvin, that's right.
Yeah.
There you go. That way we can get Martha in here and start talking to her.
Yeah, and we do have a little bit of news, so that'll be good.
We do?
Well, so yeah.
So Chris says, John, that mic makes your voice sound much better. We were having some technical issues earlier. This mic is specifically made for this. Well, I'm going to get into that with news. I want to talk about that in a minute anyway. So
that way you can write it off taxes. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about the microphone. It's double write-off.
And now we can write it off. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into headlines, and that way we can get rocking and rolling. All right, what do you got this week?
I had a piece run in SFWA blog, and I'm polishing a piece to send off for a short story bit. Aside from that, 15K on Tokyo Kaiju, not counting the bits that I rewrote and cut. So
what are we looking at on Tokyo Kaiju?
Yeah, it just keeps. I keep seeing bits where I skipped and rushed and everything else. So I'm like afraid to send it to you until it makes any at least got that chunk that makes sense. Okay. So it might. It looks bigger than it is.
That's what she said.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say we won't touch that, but there we went. Because we have a short story attached to it, so it'll be probably about the same size as the later versions.
That's
or
cool.
The later entries.
Okay.
But yeah. And for you?
Yeah, I released the first book of the 2021 vaccine zombies series called Death Vaxxers. And the second book is already written, and it's with Team Ass right now. And I am working on the third book, which I will have done by the end of the month. The second book releases on February 12th, I think. And then the third book will probably be releasing near the end of February or early March. And it's just going to be a trilogy. It was just kind of a thing I wanted to do. It was fun. I've never written post-apocalyptic, so, but, it's my standard humor and everything else. So that was cool. The second thing is that, as you can see, I have this new microphone. It was actually recommended to me by by my audio producer, and I got rid of the vocal booth. Thing was a huge friggin' eyesore. I've had it for, I don't know, ever since 2001 or 2002, something like that. And anyway, got rid of that because this microphone will allow me to actually do narration without having to worry about all of the other stuff that comes with it, like sitting in a vocal booth and all that kind of stuff. It's very clear. Especially when it's connected through, the audio software that I use and so on. I also put up a ton of audio panels. I put up a green screen. I moved my drum set, everything. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So there's audio panels are up there in the corner. And what that does is causes reflection to stop. And it goes all the way around. But they're also behind the green screen over here, which then has drum kit and all that kind of stuff. And so that way I can get back into doing my music videos and all that crap. Oh, I got to fix this thing. But yeah. And I also have a monitor arm now, as opposed to the things. That way I can spin the monitor around. So when I'm trying to do recording and stuff, the drum set, I can actually do it from there. So that's kind of cool. But the good news is that means that I can actually start doing audiobook narration again a lot easier than dealing with the whole vocal booth stuff, which is what I was doing before. This is going to drive my OCD insane. So anyway, that's the news that I got there. And then, of course, we have New York PPD, which is launching in just a couple of weeks. So make sure that you get your pre-order in if you are doing the pre-order and all that stuff. And that is the final book of the PPD for New York, which means the only one that we're wrapping up at this point is Southeast Asia.
Yep. So
cool.
Good things there. And I think the book's going to be better. Not that it was a bad book before, but I'm seeing the bits where it needed a little polish. So I think it's going to be worth the wait, hopefully.
Good.
So
rock and roll. Well, hey, it's the final
because
book.
We didn't get
it right.
Yeah. So. See, that's what we didn't. We talked about before. It was going to be 8 books, and then we decided no, we'll do 7 because it's going to work the way that we talked everything out. So just the growing pains of fitting little bits into the places they need to go for it to work as a final book 7.
Cool.
Yep, it's going pretty smooth.
All right. So I'm gonna keep us rushing through so we can get to Martha. So we're gonna have the joke of the day next. All right, I have one. Do you have one?
Yeah, but
okay.
No, I'll say no because I know what kind of joke it is. So no, I don't have one today.
All right, this is terrible. So here we go. There's a however, new people come in here. We haven't said hi to yet. We have Facebook user. It just says we're living it. So just so you know, this is what this says. So what you need to do is you need to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and authorize. And if you do that, we'll be able to see who you are. Okay, so terrible joke. Okay, so this magician, he has been practicing this spell and he finally does it. He casts a spell on his wife and 2 kids, and she turns into a love seat and the kids turn into a couple of armchairs. And so then he tries to uncast the spell and it doesn't work. And he's not sure what to do. He's freaking out. So he loads them up into a truck, drives them to the ER, tells the doctor everything that's happening. The doctor's checking them both out and everything else. He says, we'll do what we can. He goes in there, comes back out about an hour later. And he says, well, how's my family? Is everything, what's going on? And the doctor looks at him and says, well, they're comfortable. Took you a second, right?
Yeah. No, wasn't going to dignify it with a response.
It's pretty bad. Okay, so unless you've got anything else.
No, I'll save the joke I had for is an old one anyway. So
okay,
we'll move on.
All right,
we're already at 11 after. So
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump in, and we are going to bring in Marth Carr. So just a second. Hi, Martha.
Hi, guys.
Whoa.
How are you?
Good. Nice joke there, John.
It was terrible.
Yeah, just don't ever watch any of our other shows, and you can keep thinking our jokes are nice.
They're usually pretty damn filthy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like whenever we have a guest, we try to nice it up a little bit, but when we don't, we
or we match it.
I already know you, John, so it was not necessary.
I know.
Yeah,
I
you
remember.
know him, but the thing is that we egg each other on, so it's not a good. It's a horrible relationship.
It just keeps going. I remember sitting in the back of the car and going, "Oh, okay, Martha, so that's where the line is." I just kept pushing and pushing, and finally she was like, "Ooh," and I was like, "There it is," and found it.
We've had a few adventures, John.
Oh yeah, it was fun.
All in one night.
All in one night.
Yeah.
Hey, Orlando's here. Hi, Orlando. Just so folks know, I mean, it's a small community. Authors are a small community, especially indies. And so we all know each other. And one of the things that happened, it was a couple of years ago, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Went to Martha's house with a bunch of other authors, and we had the Austin Summit.
Yeah, we've done it twice. And COVID stopped us from doing it a third time.
Yeah. And I know Kimbra is part of it now. She wasn't the original. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Rami was there with me, and these are people that I've had on. So Rami was on a few weeks ago, and so he was at I don't think anybody else from that group was on yet, but we are going to have Claire on in April.
Claire is awesome. And she's also my neighbor. She lives right around the corner.
That's right. So she had the easiest trip home after the meetings. The rest of us went, and I remember eating a lot of Brussels sprouts. That place had great Brussels sprouts. They were unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I was thinking that was, I thought that was a euphemism. And I was trying to puzzle out what you meant.
Wondering what I forgot, because that was an action-packed night.
There was a lot that went on. We had fun. It was just fun, Yeah.
Until, until the laptop was stolen, and then the window was broken, and then, but yours was not. Yours was a funny reaction. Yours was a funny reaction when you said, "Oh, thank God." Oh, sorry for yours.
Exactly. It was like, oops. But
and Claire bought me a lottery ticket that night that paid off for half the window.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I remember because we walked out. It was a great dinner. And then it was like this tent-like thing that we were in. And then we walk out, and it was surreal. It was like I'm walking up to get into the car, and I look, and there's like a big hole in the window.
Right.
And I'm going, what's going on? This just doesn't make sense. And then I remember Brandon was coming up. Yeah, and he looked at it, and he's like that. And we're both looking at it like, something's weird. Oh, crap, somebody broke in, right? And then, I freaked out like, oh, shit, they stole the laptop. Oh, this is terrible, right? They did. They stole Brandon's laptop. I was like,
yeah, John's was still there.
Yeah, like I pulled back the thing and I go, oh, thank God, my laptop's still here. And Brandon's like, mine's gone. I was just like, sorry.
John caught himself and went, oh, yeah, sorry.
My bad.
Oh, yeah, empathy. I forgot. I'm around people that don't know me. They still think I'm normal.
Then that was the night I drove over a wall.
That was hilarious. That was
hilarious.
I've
heard some of the crap out of Rami. But a Subaru can take it.
So we talked about this on the Rami interview. So now we have a different perspective of it. And that was basically, I'm in the hotel room at this point, and all of a sudden my phone rings. And it's video, FaceTime or whatever, right? And I'm like, hello? Like, yeah, all it is laughing. That's it. And then disconnect. I'm like, okay, that was weird.
There was talking. It was just the laughing was so hard you couldn't tell what the words were.
Yeah, it was like click. And I was like, the hell?
Like, oh God, I hope this didn't turn out to be a suicide note.
Well, it was Rami and I, and So I didn't see the half wall, and Rami did, but he was he didn't want to tell me because he was afraid I'd get mad or something.
He was too polite to point out that you were gonna crash.
So I went over it halfway, and the car was kind of resting on it, and he said, "Thank God we know a cop because Claire's husband is a cop." Mm-hmm. And I knew Rami was thinking we would leave the car there, and no. So I looked at him kind of dead faced and hit the gas. And I've never seen him that afraid. And he muttered to himself as we went over the wall, "Oh, that won't help," about knowing a cop. And then he talked to me as if I was insane and said very gently, "I'm just going to get out and check the bottom, okay? Don't drive off.
Don't drive over my head."
Yeah, like I was just going to hit the gas again and leave him standing there.
Well,
and I said to him, "It's a Subaru." And he looked underneath and came back shocked and said, "It's fine." Yeah, it's a Subaru.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and this is and then we were in Scotland and I'm sitting down with Rami and you come walking over and I said, "Nope, you two aren't allowed to be in the same room together."
Well, we'd also gone to try and get the glass vacuumed out of the back. And the gentleman in the convenience store did not speak English and kept saying, the only thing he could say was, "When my brother gets here." And Rami would say, "Great, when's your brother getting here?" 2 a.m. And so somehow Rami still managed to talk this gentleman into lending us his broom and a big pan. Rami swept up all the glass, walked to the trash can, and hit the edge of the trash can and managed to spray glass all over the place. And then Rami has the nerve to go back in and say, "When your brother gets here."
He's got to clean up glass?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Did Rami leave that part of the story out?
He did. So there you have it.
So but each one thinks the other one's crazy. So this is good. We're getting like a Rashomon kind of thing going on here.
Did he say I was crazy?
Yeah. Well, you were inferring it through the way he's like saying very like, don't run over me, because that's the perfect thing.
Yeah, he was worried because we were balanced on that wall and I hit the gas. So he was convinced I could do anything at that point.
He doesn't understand Texas driving.
It's probably a good idea with Rami to leave him wondering what you could do next.
Yeah, but what I noticed is that you're not crazy. He's not crazy. Together. I don't know. There's a little crazy happening there. But
that's possible. I have that effect on perhaps a few authors.
So you can have a buddy cop movie, or you can have an Ocean's 11 style bit
with
some other authors.
I'm kind of my own endless buddy cop movie, whoever I'm with.
Which actually brings up a good point because, well, not a good point on that, but just to bring out buddy authors and stuff like that, because we're talking about all that kind of stuff. And
look at you stretch to get that one.
You also organized 2 anthologies, and so we basically have been featured in both, even though it was really Noah who wrote those. But thanks for putting my name on it because it's PPD, I know. But anyway. But so you did that, and it was donated to charity, which is what gave the idea when Noah.
And let's mention the last charity too, just because Authors League Fund. Mm-hmm. You can look it up, and if you're a writer, you don't have to be like a successful writer or show them that you've done an X amount of work. They give small grants to writers in financial distress for pretty much anything. So if you're listening to this and that's you can go to Authors League Fund and apply for a grant. And that's who we gave money to. And they have treated us like we did something tremendous because of our donation. Yeah, but they're such nice people.
Good.
Yeah, I would have picked that for my anthology, but it's easier just to give myself the money directly.
Yeah.
So, but no. I was gonna
the Noah Fund.
Good one, Noah.
Noah Fund, yeah. But that was my way of segueing. See, that's how you do it. To saying that Martha, if you didn't know, she was a huge help on the anthology that I put out. Because
that was fun.
Yeah, just really short bits and stuff. But I would send her messages like, "Is this going to get me in jail?"
Right. I was his legal counsel, so I'm sure. You might want to find another co-host for the podcast for when they
I
carve
had
away.
a few. I mean, there was people guiding me on all different bits because I threw it together in a month. So yeah, that was probably a mistake.
You did a great job, and it was so much fun. It was comedy, and mine was almost all hashtags and written as a text between a mother and a grown son. But the mother's the crazy one because, real life. And that was a lot of fun to take a break from the normal style of writing and do this very funny, weird thing.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of the bigger ones did. See, and that's the problem. I forgot it for a second, but now I remember. Yeah, it's Quick Draw. Yeah,
right. So, and it's still available, correct?
Yep, it's still got about another 4 months on ebook, and then it's out in paperback now too. So yeah, I need to be sending it out a little. Again, it's just I need to look for better places to market it. So,
well, you can also go look it up now if you'd like to see my genius. Quick Draw.
Yep, there's a lot of good names in there. John's in there. I'm in there.
Yeah.
So those should be commas, not like also John and I are in there. But yeah, so I'm counting us among the good ones.
And John is one of the funniest people I know. And John and Claire together, you will not get much done. You have to separate them. So where they can't hear each other, you have to separate them far enough where they cannot commingle at all.
I'll call in sick on that week we do that interview then, because I don't think I'll be needed.
You'll be in jail.
I'm watching because those two are hilarious.
Yeah, I'll just have to be sitting on mute and I won't get a word in. So it'll be.
I don't say anything when Claire's around because I'll just look stupid because she's so funny. Yeah, there's not a chance I'm going to be able to compete.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like we definitely look at the world the same way.
If you see me shaking my head no constantly, it's at a very sweet pit bull who's trying to get a TREAT. So.
Well, I thought the pit bull was DEAF.
No, that's the other dog who is TER.
I think I was going to say I think the pit bull has selective hearing.
It's not. It's been a while since I've done my ASL. I don't know the dog version with paws.
It's a little simpler, but we use actual ASL to communicate. But she will roll her eyes away when she doesn't want to hear it. But Leela, the pit bull, has no problem with that, and that's Leela.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so you just have to thump the carpet and see. I know you can feel the vibrations.
Oh yeah, she can. She can tell. Yeah. I know when a truck is passing in front of the street because she runs to the front to bark, and none of us knew, but she could feel it.
She could feel it. So we're going to hear growling and barking and such like that. So just
and it's not me or John this time. So.
This time.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. So should we actually talk about books?
About books, yeah. I was gonna. So first off, you have a shit ton of books.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I didn't quite have time to read 200 of them this week, so I had to get the highlights.
So let me ask. Now, I noticed that you are co-author a lot with Michael.
Right.
Is it? I went through pages and pages of books, looking and such like that. Are there books that you soloed on, or are all?
No, they're all Michael and I. We come up with the ideas together. We work better that way.
I get it.
Yeah, it keeps both of, and also we have different strengths. I know I'm stronger in the YA side of things or cozy kind of elements. He's stronger in the kill everyone side of things. And if he's listening to this, which I'm sure he is, he's thinking, no, she kills a lot of people. But so yeah, we make a great combination, and we also play well off each other with ideas.
Yeah. And
there's a pit bull climbing on me. No.
I get it totally. All of my books are written with co-authors until I just did this 2021 Vaccine Zombies. It's the very first series I've ever written by myself.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I've never done it before. I mean, it's funny I say that because it's like the first Ian Dex book I wrote by myself. I didn't have any assistance with that. The first Platoon F book I wrote by myself. The first iteration of Emoticon. But I then would bring in, Chris Young, who's my primary co-author, who I wrote the majority of stuff with and such like that. But then with this one, with the Vaccine Zombies, it's like, it's going to be a trilogy. And I'm like, no, I just want to do this myself. And Chris was like, well, do you need any help? And I was like, no, I'm doing it myself.
Yeah.
But it's fun because, I can just do whatever. And so it's interesting, but I do like the collaboration of, having somebody to bounce ideas off of and get different perspectives and stuff like that. But regardless, the voice is the same,
Yeah, and I should mention, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I started out writing for the Washington Post, and I had a national column on politics, and then I wrote an entire thriller series on my own. So, and I've also written nonfiction on U.S. orphanages. So, yeah, I've experienced both, and both are great. And if you've only done collaborating, try writing something on your own, because you're right, it's a different creative experience. And you should try, in my opinion, you should try everything. If writing is really the thing you love, you're doing it because you love to write, not because you thought, it looks like they're making a lot of money, I want to go make some. That's a whole different thing.
Some people make money. Oh, John told me we were doing this for fun.
Wait a minute, what?
I haven't got paid yet.
Yeah, I told him, I said, hey, no, it's going to be an equitable cut. I get 100%, you get 0%. It's going to work out.
Yeah, it's going to work out for one of us.
Yeah, and but you get to pay all the advertising.
So. The Authors League Fund, Noah. And so it's been fun to try different ways of doing this. And I'm looking at doing a series on my own again, just to do it. And, we'll see. You get to a certain place where, fortunately, I can try side projects, and it's no longer I hope this pays the bills. Right. But it was. So also, for anybody watching, I wasn't really financially successful till my 50s. And I'm now 61. And I had a lot of critical acclaim, and I was maybe doing better than a lot of other writers in that I could pay the bills, but it was minimal. And that's a tough road to hoe. But if you're really a writer, somehow you keep hammering away at it. Mm-hmm. And it was meeting Michael and being able to put my ego aside, and because he was financially doing well. So I thought, why am I adding to this conversation? And that, I'm just going to follow behind and see what happens.
Right.
And it turned into the Orsarin universe, and wildly successful. So yeah, try everything. Just have a willing heart, so that you don't approach it with contempt ahead of information, where you're saying no before you've even asked questions, before you've even tried. The worst that can happen is you end up in the same place where you already were. Yeah. But it's also possible that you will end up in a fabulous house, such as mine.
You can have fabulous transformer. No, but yeah,
exactly.
I really believe in that. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, I had something for Science Fiction Fantasy Writers Association run this week, and different places I submit things to. And it's interesting that you and Nasri and I have all done journalism, although yours is a much higher level than mine, and so was Nasri's. I did college stuff. But it's interesting that coming from a nonfiction background. So
I found that to be extremely helpful, because I'm from the old days. I was actually working as a reporter at times too, where they tell you we need 30 inches, we'll need it in an hour. And so you learn to be quick, you learn to be clean, you learn to use one word instead of three, you learn how to check your facts, to get background, to not describe, sometimes when I'm looking, I collaborate with other authors as well within Orsarin. And sometimes, if you can take 2 pages of stuff out and it doesn't affect the plot at all, and it doesn't really add to the character build, then it needed to go. Well, so a journalist has already been kind of trained that way. Although I must say, I love history. And so that thriller series I wrote, I remember the editor, I would get off on a tangent of how this building burned down. And he would say, that was really interesting, but it's got to go. And, but yeah, journalists, I, of course, have a soft spot for journalists. They chronicle what's happening in the world when we can't be there to see it and make sure that the truth gets told. And you may not agree with what you're seeing, but at least you're getting the opportunity to see it. So yeah, big fan of journalists, having been one.
No, it's interesting. My wife, she had taken multiple journalism classes and everything else, and was really applying all of it. She has, a couple of master's degrees, English, linguistics, and she was going through all of that. And then when she went back to try to write fiction, because she's written fiction as well, she struggled massively because she got into the mindset of the journalistic view of, keep it like this, and
Right.
so doing this was like really massively struggle. She struggled with it huge. And so she would, say, hey, in journalism, this is, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I'd rather have the burning building. I'm cool with the burning building.
Yeah, but you still got to know when you venture too far off into the weeds, and you have to hack it back some. So I do like to add fun facts. I always will. I think it gives wonderful color. I've just learned to do one or two instead of a whole page worth.
Right. And
yeah,
I have a tendency of diverting into, because it's comedy first for me. So I have a tendency of diverting into for the comedic angle and then come back.
But I think comedy is always appreciated, though. Comedy is different. If you can get someone to laugh in the middle of tragedy. I mean, remember Misery, the movie, how intense it was, but it was those moments of comedy that got everybody to fill the theater and kind of take a breath. Yeah. So if you can do comedy, you're going to do well. Yeah,
that's how we see it with Noah and I, is comedy first. I mean, that's all the stuff that I do is comedy first, and then everything behind it is, sure, there's storyline, action, character development, all that is very important, but the idea is make you laugh.
Absolutely. And same here. And I always like to say that I write recess these days. So, you've had a hard day, or you're worried about something else, or you can't sleep. You can come and read this and you're going to laugh. There is swearing, so I don't need to hear it. If you don't like it, go read something else.
Yeah.
And there's action and adventure, but mostly you're going to love the characters, really get attached to them, and laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a swearing troll who farts Cheeto dust.
Well, I was going to ask you about this. Okay, so I'm saying is, you start in journalism, you're doing nonfiction stuff that, is pretty heady, serious stuff and everything else, and then Yumfuck shows up. So tell everybody about Yumfuck.
So if you meet journalists that you've read a lot of as human beings, you'll find out they're not the same. They know how to be professional. So my personality is quite snarky and, childish. And that's why Rami and I get along so well. And so Michael and I were talking about the Lyric Chronicles. That's a series that I write, and he and I came up with the idea together. And we wanted to do a sidekick. He said troll. So Michael has a big background in D&D. I do not. So when he said troll, I was thinking troll doll. And but he did say make it small. So we were kind of on the same page. And then I went in my direction. And we knew we wanted to make it funny, and it just kind of developed that he was learning from Lyra, who swears a lot. Lyra is based on me. The troll was learning how to English from her. So Andy liked to eat a lot, so he would say yum and he would say fuck, and just became Yumfuck.
Makes sense.
Yumfuck Tiberius Troll, because I'm a big Star Trek fan, and so his middle name is after.
That's what I was going to guess. There's not a whole lot of Tiberius running around.
It's a Captain Kirk nod. There's different nods to different weird stuff in those books, and it's fun when someone spots it and writes me an email and asks, "Is this because of?" Yep, it probably is. You spotted something weird? Yes, it probably is.
So that series you write, and you guys collaborate on the thing. Are there other series where you collaborate but you don't write?
Yeah. So there's so TR Cameron is writing in Orsarin, and he is doing Magic City Chronicles right now. He's done a couple of others. Okay. He writes really good action adventure scenes, and so check out Magic City Chronicles. When the quarantine started, I was reading books online, chapter by chapter, and loved reading his because, I mean, you know, I can feel my heart rate picking up just reading it to fans. And also Abby Lynn Canor, who writes under A.L. Canor, she wrote the Casey Chronicles, which is also an Order Saren. She is talking about coming back and doing more of the Casey Chronicles. We collaborate on the ideas. She was the one who wrote them.
Gotcha. I'm looking down because I have notes here. I'm looking at the different things. So you have also like the things that I've seen. I Fear No Evil, The Adventures of Maggie Parker.
That's me.
The Fairhaven Chronicles.
Fairhaven, yeah. That was written by Sarah Boyce, but it lists Michael and I. Sarah wanted to go on to other things.
Okay. Goth Drow.
Yeah, that's Michael and I. Yeah.
The Witches of Pressler Street.
Yeah, so the Witches of Pressler Street live down the street from Maggie Parker. So that's a different universe, Terra Novis universe. It's a tiny little universe we've started. And Charlie Case, who writes The Adventures of Finnegan Dragonbender, is in the Terra Novis universe.
And he's new to the Austin Summit Group too.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's right, Charlie. Yeah,
so
Charlie
we kind of had a get together of all the people when we went to Vegas the second time.
Yeah. Yes, we had a dinner, yes.
Yeah.
And so Charlie is this giant guy with a red beard, and he looked to me like a giant dwarf, right? So that's where the idea of The Adventures of Finnegan Dragonbender started, because it's the tale is that dwarves are not small. It was a rumor started by other magicals who hate them. And so Finnegan Dragonbender is based on Charlie.
Okay. And you also have the Dwarf Bounty Hunter series, which is newer.
That's Michael and I, and you can really see Michael's influence in that one, because that's, if you look at all the covers, there's always some monster's guts spilling over, and the names. I think the one that's out right now is called Zero Dwarfs Given.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I love the covers. I think they're great. And I also like the covers of the one that Charlie's doing too. The dwarves are very cool looking.
Yeah.
Who does your covers, if you can say?
So that's Jake Clark, and he is very, very good. He did the covers also for the Maggie Parker series, and he puts little Easter eggs in a lot of his covers. So if you look really closely at details, sometimes you spot something that's very funny.
Okay.
And the raccoon he did for one of the Maggie Parker books, I adore. So it's a raccoon in short shorts and a t-shirt that started as a joke between Charlie and I at the London conference, over drinks. And then I turned it in, of course, to a series because it was funny.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you have a lot of books. How many, the stuff that you write specifically yourself? I mean, one of the things we talk about, we actually, in between author interview shows, we actually do like a writing boot camp for people. So you kind of get feel for, how to create characters, how to create world building, all that kind of stuff, and so on. So one of the questions that comes up sometimes from authors is, what's your word count? How many words a day do you do? All that kind of stuff. It's never a competition. I try to point that out to people, but it's an interest that, people have. So as a general rule, do you have a target word count? Do you have a chapter word count? Do you just kind of go, I feel like writing today? What's your kind of thing?
No, I have a word count. I mean, that's also, we're back to the whole journalist thing. They didn't really care how you felt. And sometimes you literally would get an hour. And there's a hole literally in the newspaper. So this is before the internet, where you could adjust how a paper looks on the internet. It really doesn't matter. This was a physical newspaper. The hole had to be filled. You can't send it out with a blank space. Yeah. And so I know that I have to, my goal is 3,000 a day. So my purpose was to set a goal that was achievable without stress or worry. I wouldn't sit up at night thinking, how am I going to do that? Right. And when I was younger, I could do a lot more. Now it's about 3,000 a day. Some days it turns into 8 or 10. That tends to happen towards the end of a book. Yeah. And then there's some days where it's 1,500, and I worked hard for every one of those 1,500 words. But I've been doing it long enough to know that if you just keep doing that, somehow the books appear. Yeah. Yeah, and also sometimes the parts that I struggled with the hardest are the parts everybody else loved. And so you just keep working at it and try your best to let go of judging yourself while you're doing it. And I struggle with that still. I mean, I've done, more books than I can count, and I'll still sit at the beginning of a book sometimes and think, I wonder if I can still do this. I wonder if this one will be crap. And then I also have moments where I read it and think, I'm a genius. So both of those still happen. And so I've learned to know that both of those are kind of false. I'm writing something a lot of people like. That's great. I'm having fun doing it. And that's enough.
Yeah, totally.
It's funny that you mentioned the words, because as a newspaper writer, I would come up against that. But then whenever I was doing layout, I got really good at making in-house ads for people that came up short. So I would plug in our stuff to fill those spots. So I would get really flexible about cheating the words and the layout and everything else, because we didn't have to lay it out physically. So it's kind of interesting the way your brain will come up with solutions. Do you have things for like writer's block, or is that something that you ever get a hold of?
I will call Charlie or my son, my son reads a lot, and he reads eclectic things, and he has this weird memory, and I will talk it over with him, and he'll shoot out. Like, I was writing about a vault where they kept all the most dangerous things, so there was a new vault, and it was oversized, and I needed things that were oversized to put in it, and I couldn't think of anything, and I called him, and he immediately said, a leather armor for a whale. and then he was off and running. I mean, there was a bunch more that came out of that. And it helps me, because for some reason, now I can work with it. And I created, an entire chapter easily out of that, just because it was such a left turn.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
How is that fitted?
Well, and also I could imagine the whole structure set up, and you walk in and you're kind of overwhelmed by what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And so my son and I, Louis manages music acts. So check out Jackie Benson, shout out for her. And for some reason, I guess he's not getting worn out by it when I call him and ask him bizarre questions. But Charlie, if you need a dark element because Charlie will take a left turn into, you wonder if he's really burying bodies in his backyard, and we just haven't found out yet.
Nice.
Yeah. So if I'm doing a battle scene and you can't throw another fireball, and you're just not sure what to do, then I call Charlie, because he's going to say something so gruesome that I'll have to step a little back from it, but I'll take elements out of it and run with it.
Yeah, see, we don't really have
I'm picturing this leather worker at this point now.
Well, see, now I'm seeing like a Da Vinci. I'm seeing like a Da Vinci thing on the wall, like where it's mapped out with the little numbers and everything.
Yeah, but I'm just like, I just imagine this leather worker just standing there. And the guy goes in. Yeah. So anyway, it's a whale, and I need to have this outfit for the whale and everything else. The leather worker just going. Just staring at it.
But maybe he was able to do it.
We could probably do it.
Imagine a series of whales coming at you underwater who are all wearing leather armor.
Because I'm always thinking of the cheat thing. I'm thinking, okay, so you just skin a whale that's slightly bigger, and then there you've got the armor for the next one.
Nice.
Yeah, and so that would be Charlie's comment. That's an example of what Charlie would do, and all of us go, eh.
Yeah. So that same look that John. Yeah, I see that one a lot.
Yeah.
And so, Charlie has the same snarky humor. T.R. Cameron, who is one of the quietest people, has the same snarky sense of humor. You don't know it till you read his stuff, because in person he's so quiet and humble and so easy to get along with, and then you read his books. And actually, Charlie in person is pretty quiet as well. But those guys, when they start to write, Charlie from the Author Summit, he didn't say a whole lot.
No, I wasn't at the Author Summit with when he was there, but I was in Vegas. In Vegas, we had the dinner. Yeah. Right.
Well, he doesn't say too much in person, but man, is he snarky in his work.
Yeah, and a lot of us are kind of like that. I mean, on this, it doesn't seem like I'm talking to that many people because I'm just staring at 2. But if we got together until I knew, like, all right, John's already said something and didn't get slapped, so I can start talking, I wouldn't say a whole lot.
Right. Yeah. It pushes me in the back. Here, go say something and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then you have Rami, the outlier.
Oh,
who,
yeah.
So a fan flew from Canada to meet me at 20 Books once. Rami happened to be nearby, sat down with us without invitation and started selling his books to her. And she kept looking at me and asking, who is this guy?
Yeah.
But Rami is so funny that by the end, he was writing down the name of the book.
Well, it's not anytime he shows up, it's not one of those things where it annoys you. He just has that thing, where he can just sit there and talk, and he's so excited about everything.
He's so excited. He is just sometimes this shy of annoying you, but you're laughing so hard. Like the woman the fan who kept saying, who is this guy to me? Yeah. But by the end, she loved him.
I think it's, again, because it's genuine. I don't think it's not salesy. It's not car salesman. It's genuine.
Well, also, I've never heard him say a mean thing about anybody.
No. It's just he's a genuine guy, and
he very easily laughs at himself.
Yeah, and he's crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, totally.
He is crazy.
So as Orlando says, he comes across as guileless.
Yes.
Here, we'll put it this way. We'll put it on the screen.
Yes, he does.
I like this. I like this. It's a whale shifter. I like that because that would really suck.
It started out as a person with no arms or legs, and they just happen to be able to shift.
There you go.
Yeah, but that would really suck. I mean, all of a sudden you're like, they're attacking us, and you're on land. Shit.
Well,
thump.
Someone's got to take the hits.
You guys run. I'll block them.
That's true. You don't hear about people shifting into fish very much.
No, and imagine you're on land when you're doing it. It's like, well, we can't get away. There's a whole army of them. Ah, shit. Okay, I'm gonna take one for the team. You guys come back and push me back into the water. Thump.
Yeah, it's the whole Aquaman syndrome where you're kind of limited on what you can do in most situations.
But you have really cool armor on.
But he has leather armor.
Yeah.
That'll help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh, geez.
That's in the Lyric Chronicles if you guys want to go check that out.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of stuff going on, and I mean, that's cool. If that's the thing, if a person finds something and they like your voice and they're like, oh, this is fun, boom, all the way through, especially with Kindle Unlimited. I mean, people read fast with Kindle Unlimited.
So a lyric book comes out, and in about lunchtime, they're saying, when's the next one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. It's just like, oh, is the next one out yet? And it's like, I just said the end.
Yeah. Okay. And then the Brownstone books, James Brownstone, Michael mentions a barbecue place in Vegas that became so popular. The guy's now selling his stuff online.
Wow, nice.
And that's all came about because of what Michael did because the Brownstone books are more Michael's flavor. I told Michael you can't kill any dogs because it annoyed me, so he killed a dog in the very beginning of the first book. But then he went and killed everybody who killed the dog.
So John Wick.
Yeah.
But now I can't read it because that would trigger me. So yeah.
Well, and so everybody forgave him because he got justice for the dog. Brownstone even used one guy's head to, like a battering ram to open a door. That's when you know
hard head.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's more Michael's influence is when you see stuff like that.
Yeah.
So whenever you start digging in people's basements, she's very carefully steering all the attention away from her on these bets. I'm noticing. Exactly. So we're going to find out
Michael anyway right now.
Yeah.
That was very clever, Noah.
Yeah. Where is Michael at the moment?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
He's the one who always uses heads for battering rams, then puts people in the basement and everything else.
People like me. How do you like your stew?
He and Charlie are busy burying something in a backyard somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's as much as you can say for legal purposes.
All right.
Could say his man shaped, could not be. But no, it's interesting that you bring up the food and things because when you talk about adding color to your characters and things, that's kind of how I do in the Southeast Asia ones. In every country they go to, it'll talk about some food that I've eaten in one of those countries, and I'll name drop the places. I'm not getting any, feedback from those places, but it's still kind of a cool thing for people that have been there.
Well, and also fans of the Lyric Chronicles, I know, have made pilgrimages to the Jackalope here in Austin, and they like going to the places. And also, the reason why somebody goes from book 1 to book 2 to book 13 is the characters, not the plot. They want to know what their friends are doing, and they see them as real. So if you're an author, you are dealing with characters that they see as real, and not some. So that's why you can't go too far. You be careful who you kill off.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talk about a lot with our boot camp is that a plot is just kind of a vehicle,
right?
And there are only so many of them anyway. So really, kill the vampire or stop the vampire or stop the werewolf, whatever it is. The thing is that it's not so much the plot; it's the new character. It's like, well, this is kind of the same plot I did before. Obviously a different city, a different this, a different that. Different nuances, whatever. But it's still stop the bad guy. And while doing that, it's really what the people want is, how does this character view that process, or how can I identify with this particular element of it? Because if you just change the name of the character, then you're Harlequin in it, right? So
or you're John Grishaming it.
Or John, exactly. And so we always talk about that. We're always like, look, character first, plot honestly really doesn't matter. It does, but it's not like a huge deal. It's more about the character. And absolutely, because that's the thing. If you love the character, you're going to want to read everything about them.
Well, and also it's not just the character; it's the character and how they interact with their friends.
Well, the other characters.
And like Estelle in the Lyra Chronicles is a minor character, and I hear more about Estelle than I do about Lyra.
Yeah,
and I mean, she's a bar owner with a beehive hairdo who smokes too much, and weirdly, people keep saying, "What is she?" I've never said that that she was anything, but there's a joke has arisen where even the magicals in the book can't figure out what she is.
There you go.
Yeah. And so, Yumfuck Yumfuck is not in a lot of the big scenes, and yet, he's beloved.
Well, that's a librarian.
And that's what it comes down to is that your main character generally is the straight man,
right.
Not always, but generally is a straight man. And it's all of the oddities around them that and how they deal with that while they're still working through. And they have the more of the honor, element of them and everything else. They might have the more darker view of some stuff, but then
and you got something to work out.
Yeah.
You want to start. I want to start out with a main character who has some emotional development that needs to take place that will be aided by those people around. And my main characters are true to their friends, run toward a fire, not away from it, keep a sense of humor, and will take truth over lying every time, even if it costs them.
Yeah.
So
honor and integrity. Yeah.
Yeah. So that going in, and I think it's for me as a reader, I pick. I'm writing what I want to read, and I want to know that the bad guy is going to get it in the end. Although in a lot of cases, I figure out a way to redeem the bad guy somewhat, so that there's even that, and the honorable moment happens. And there's no angst that goes longer than a chapter, so you're not going to be left wondering who's going to be okay for chapters on end. So that's why I say I write Recess. You're really going to be able to enjoy it completely without any moments of I hope they're okay.
Yeah, this is one of the things I love the Recess term. I call them palate cleansers because you read this dark, thing and kind of get your brain there for like a month or whatever. And then jump over and read my book. And it's just like an escape for that. And then you can cleanse your palate and go on to the next one that you want to read. That's going to make you feel like shit. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. And I mean, it's not like the books you and I are writing aren't going to get your heart racing. It's just going to get it racing for this chapter. And then you're going to get the chance to laugh about something and then off on the next adventure.
Serenity is a great point of this. Firefly, right? The whole scene where Mal shows up on the bridge and he's just like, if you're going to try to take the ship, you may as well just shoot me. And she's like, and he goes, or we could talk about it a little more.
Yeah.
I think that was a very eye-opening thing to see, that where it was dark as hell at certain points and yet comedy bumps through, and it's really good.
And occasionally, you do a series long enough and you're going to kill off somebody. It just won't be a key one, but it will be somebody people somewhat care about. Yeah. And then it gives you the chance to do a fabulous funeral that brings everybody together, that shows some cool thing about how you bury the bodies. And, and so then the honor is there. And you have a moment of really feeling this strong connection between all. So you don't want to do that until you're so far in that everybody is tied to all these characters. And you can pull a moment together where all the characters get to stand up and do the right thing. And
See, I most of my books are like that, where I don't kill off the main characters and everything else, but my Sinister series, nope. So people die. But it's still comedy, but it's the darkest, version series that I've written. And it was hard to write that. I mean, there were moments where I was pissed off writing that. And I got readers who were also pissed off, but I was mad about it. And what I found is when I was done with that series, it was probably the more critically, decent stuff as far as, urban fantasy, because it was very highly charged emotionally, but at the same time, it was absolutely exhausting to write. It was very tiring. Certain scenes were just, I kicked my ass for like a week, and I was just like, God. And then you have to dig back into the comedy, and that's hard to do when you go to that dark a place. I do think as authors, they say write what you know, and part of what comes with that is you're writing about something you're working out when you don't even realize you're working it out, and you read it later, or the fans give you feedback and you think, oh, okay, that's what I was doing. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised that it kicked your ass for a while. It was probably some way that you needed to in order to come to some sort of revelation. We're like our own therapists. Yes.
And we don't realize we're doing it, but every time we're writing, something is getting worked out. Some of us are a little gentler about the way we do it, some are not. And by the way, what I'm doing is working for me, but other writers are very different from me in urban fantasy and are doing just as well and have just as big a following, some bigger. So there's room for everyone. It's really a question of be true to yourself and be willing to build on it. It may not be a quick, but you just be true to yourself and take in input from others. Because I've been known to drive off a cliff a couple of times. Part of the fun is like, what the hell was that? Or I'll drive over walls.
So everybody listen to this, because we've been talking about this through the writing boot camp, and you're now hearing it yet from another author. And so what we talk about there is that I'm going to have characters that don't agree with my worldview. And, I have like some people who will say, oh, in this book, it looks like you're gay bashing. It's like, no, I'm not. I mean, first off, my daughter's transgender. I'm very sensitive to the whole thing, but I have a character who is real, who is not a fan of specific things. And yet the other characters are like, dude, no, that's not acceptable, for what they're doing. And yet if you just have everybody be so pie in the sky, it's not realistic. Oh, yeah. And so, but what happens is these discussions between, this particular character or some character who, feels there's flat earth, whatever, right? You'll have like this discussion going on. And what's really happening is that discussion's going on in here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're, like you said, you're your own therapist in that respect, because you don't want to just say, oh, you're just an idiot. You have to kind of, I hate to do this, but I have to get into this headspace. And then as I do that, I'm logically arguing from both sides of the equation. And then eventually my point of view obviously comes through and, smack. But it's one of those things where you at least learn to empathize a little bit with different perspectives. Doesn't mean you agree with them, but you start kind of understanding different perspectives. And why that helps is because when you're faced in a real world with something like this, you can kind of see where a person's coming from. And then, if you just immediately start bashing a person, that's never going to stop it.
No,
that's really
told them they're wrong.
It'll embolden them. Yeah, they're just going to get stronger in their position because you're attacking them.
So the idea is to listen as if your mind could be changed. Yes. I need to be secure enough that when I'm listening to someone, my mind could actually be changed, and I'm not threatened by that.
Yeah.
So that was a nice segue back to when I met Michael. Here was somebody who was doing the alleged impossible, where he'd been writing fiction for the first time for only 4 or 5 months when I met him, and was already making 6 figures a year. That's supposed to be impossible as an indie at the time. And thank God I was in a place where I was able to listen as if my mind could be changed. And inside, I would occasionally have this thought of, well, say this so he knows that you're smart. But there was another voice that said, no, why am I talking? And I would let it go. And it was kind of cool to watch how things worked out. And I learned that I didn't have to, kind of brush off the ego. I was just able to be there. And I learned how to relax and be a part of, and just be happy. It's also helped me to stop doing everything. If I don't have to let everybody know how smart and capable I am, then I have an admin grace, thank God, because that's what keeps the wheels on the bus. Mm-hmm. And I'm able to turn things over. So, how smart am I if I'm actually doing less and earning more and having more fun? And I don't think that would be possible if I didn't learn how to first listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it comes out in the characters too, by the way. The relationship between her, so there's generally a mentor in the series that I do as well. Mm-hmm. There's some mentor figure. And that's really where I kind of work things out for myself, because I'm listening to, the conversation that I just wrote. But, the hose gets the water first, is my feeling. Right. So I'm listening to what's coming out, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's true. That's really true. And it helps.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because we talk about these characters where everyone's like, depending on the genre, I don't see this in urban fantasy as much, but in game lit or lit RPG, we're like, well, we want the perfect character straight off from the bat. They should be able to tackle anything, and what fun is that? If they have nowhere to grow to, what are you going to do?
Absolutely. And you don't want to create the Superman effect. That's deadly.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, where they can solve anything. There's no flaw.
Unless it's comedy. I'll disagree with you there. If you go straight up comedy with something like that, it's great.
Well, so you're making a great point. If you can find that one angle in the thing nobody else can do, then you're about to sell a lot of books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming people buy it. And that's the other thing. It's like, yes, I want to do something totally unique, something never been done before and everything else. It's like, good luck.
Yeah. We're all going to watch with anticipation. And
hopefully it works.
Yeah. And we're going to hope it actually works, yeah.
Because then we're following you.
Yeah. Then we will be ripping you off the next day.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, and with that in mind, when I was first working with Michael, I was haunting other writers' Facebook pages at the time, now groups, to see what they were doing that I could copy. And authors copy me all the time too. The number one thing I noticed was that they interact a lot with their fan base. Mm-hmm. They tell stories online. They share pictures. They give away things, and really, it matters more than if you had 2 books and one is slightly better written than the other. If the slightly less better written author is interacting more, I'll bet they sell more books.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that when I do mentoring of authors is ads are great, marketing is better. And you may not think marketing can cost you a lot more too, And marketing does not necessarily have immediate results, whereas advertising, if done, if you get a decent ad, can. I mean, you can have, yeah, $10 an ad, a day ad or something like that. You can see like, whoop, I'm seeing sales, boom, right away. But marketing, your newsletter, you're dealing with the groups, your live events like we do with the show and everything else, all that kind of stuff. Number one, it's got to be genuine. So you're not just doing it because you're trying to make money. Yeah, you got to I actually love doing this shit. So it's not, this is not a pain to do any of this stuff. But doing that and then, interacting with your fans, like you say, it may not look like it's, giving you that thing, but next thing you know, that's what's causing the ramp to go like this.
Also, these days there's, 5 books a day, it feels like, in urban fantasy that come out.
Yeah.
So fans are choosing which books they want to read. And they're choosing that not only are the characters friends to them, the authors have become like friends.
That's right.
So they're going to, if you're marketing, they're going to choose you. And when I first started on Facebook, I didn't know what to post, but people for some reason were giving me very weird socks that year, like that looked like food or the Star Wars. And so I just took pictures of whatever socks I was wearing today.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't, pictures of the dogs. And I learned how to do it. So you don't have to be great at it going out of the gate. You just have to do it.
Yeah. And, it's interesting that you're bringing this up because I have this survey that I did that I actually ran, the Enhanced Reader Survey. And we got, let me look at responses. We got 600 responses to it.
Wow.
And of that, it's interesting that you see because I have a question in here that says, let me get to it. Hold on, individual. I got a lot of questions in here. A lot of questions in here. Purchasing factors, for example. What do you think the number one thing is that people pick to say, this is why I'm going to buy a book? Is the description. Cover is third place, which is surprising.
A cover can, so a lot of people buy books on their phone now. And they use their finger to scroll, so you can't discount a cover. Cover has to be able to get
it's clickbait. Yeah.
But it's gonna. That's the first barrier. Is will it even get them to slow down? So you have to think about it in size of a thumbnail. But the second, it's going to be the description. But then once you've made it, you're competing with everybody else, and so you're going to have to find a way for somebody to think, this is how I feel when I read her books. I like how I feel. I'm going to pick this one today over that one.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Another thing was interesting is about newsletters and groups and stuff like that. Was what we found is that people didn't know that a lot of people don't know that Facebook doesn't give them notifications, even if they set notifications to all for groups. And here's the question. 70% basically of people said, I check the group whenever Facebook notifies me. So in other words, if you're expecting that and then I do some education where I say, hey, I don't know if you know this, but authors might have 1,000 people in their group, but only 50 of them ever get the notification, which is why it was interesting. What happened was I saw another author, it was Kimbra actually. She posted a thing and said, I don't know why this particular book is not selling as well. Is it just not liked or what? And she had a poll. And one of the questions on the poll was, I didn't know that the book had released. And because it was a poll, for whatever reason, Facebook actually sent it to a lot more people. It notified people. And since it notified people, and because people interacted with it more, it became more interesting to Facebook's, algorithm relevancy, sent it to more people. And a lot of people said they didn't even know the book existed. And where was it primarily talked about? In the group. So,
so that also brings up that you have to find different touch points to reach out to people that are unique, and you can't always know how many people are being reached by it. But if you enjoy doing it, like we do, this started from the quarantine too, but everybody liked it so much, we're still kind of doing it. Pizza, Zoom pizza lunches, everybody's welcome. I buy five fans win a pizza. It started because I had been traveling around the country buying lunch in cities where I showed up. Can't do that right now, so we started doing pizza, and we just get to show up and talk, and So there may be 15 people there, but there's everybody who sees the pictures afterwards, who knows about the pizza. You just have to find different ways. Goodreads, you can now give away 100 ebooks, I think, for like 150. I think the cost of it is 150, the contest, and so 100 people are going to get the book, but also everyone who enters it ends up on their shelf. So that's another touch point that's really huge, very cost effective. You can do it in advance of the book if you have it on pre-order. And it's a great way to also get reviews, because a lot of those people will then leave a review. So yeah, you're going to need a lot of different touch points, and you may not always know how well it's doing. You're just going to have to go by, I'm selling a lot of books, so something in this stew that I'm doing is working.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. Now, I wanted to bring up, because you were talking marketing, to bring up this really quick. One of the questions was, what do you want to get from an author's newsletter?
Okay.
And 97% of people, I want to know about book releases, and so on. I want free stories or free samples, 49%.
Yeah.
56%, I want to learn more about the author.
Yeah.
53%, I want behind the scenes info about the author. And 44%, I want to know about the author's various conferences, because that way I can kidnap them and hobble them.
Yeah.
It didn't actually say that part, but I'm kind of just reading into it.
Right.
But anyway, the point is that, over 50% of the people don't just want to hear, here's my book.
No, right.
They want to actually know what's going on behind the scenes. It's just further evidence that this is from the reader's mouths, right?
Yes,
here, right? We can guess it all we want, but this is what they're actually saying. And we know, because we've been doing this long enough to recognize that if all you do is just, I have a book for sale. I know plenty of people who actually don't do any marketing at all, don't do any ads at all. They just happen to write in a genre, thriller typically, or romance, where they write in a genre where people just read it like crazy. And so they do great. And they write, 500, 600, 700 page books too. They're massive books. And so, you write 5 of those in the right genre, and you have decent covers, decent descriptions, everything else, you can make a living at this. And they make 6 figures,
But Jamie, what is Jamie's pen name? So I don't screw it up, from Austin 7. I know.
No idea.
Well, Jamie Crumpton, whatever. Yes. She writes a book a year in romance, and she makes 6 figures doing it. But she was a stand-up comic. Yeah. And when she connects with fans, she's hilarious.
Albright.
Quick. Albright. Jamie Albright.
Yep.
Check out her romance books, because she is hilarious. And her marketing on the covers is so point on. I can see a book and know it's Jamie's on a thumbnail. And so there's an example of somebody who just didn't want to have to write that much, and does a book a year and does extremely well. And it's all the marketing and the chit chat she does with fans. And she's a funny lady.
It really is interesting. There are people who, churn out. I write a lot of books, but I do it because I really love doing it.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can go down the road, and I think it's very useful, especially in urban fantasy, to rapid release, to a degree, and get yourself going, especially if you're new, to get yourself rolling into that thing and get onto a normal cadence. But if all you do is that, just release your books, everything else, it's going to go, and then
and we have seen that so many times, haven't we? Where someone has shot to the top, and there's the new star, and then they're gone. Yep. And they're still putting out books, but for some reason it's leveled off or dropped. And that's where all the marketing suddenly has to beef you up. And by the way, I take it for granted everybody knows about author notes, but maybe not. So I do author notes in the back of every book, and they're about what's going on for me personally. They have nothing to do with the book. And I know how well they're received, because sometimes the review in Amazon is about the author notes.
Oh, that's cool.
And I get notes from people who say, thanks for, telling me about your life has made me feel better. That's who I am. Michael's author notes are always hilarious. And I had to early on say I am just not that funny all the time. I can't do it.
Right.
I'm just gonna have to be me, and I'm more of the touchy-feely sort. So, I'm just gonna do that. And yeah, people sometimes review the author notes. So if that's another way, that's another touch point where you can chat with people and say, here's what's going on. Keep in mind, though, if you read a lot of books, you are suddenly going to be tied to always doing author notes. So,
yeah. Yeah. Now it's interesting at the back of the final Sinister book, what I did is I did the outtake stuff, the things that, I had written before and kind of backstory stuff that I'd written before, and just basically said, here's like another 30 pages of things that didn't make it into the book and so on.
That's
but
cool.
Perspectives and stuff like that. And I narrate a lot of my own audiobooks. And what I did with the one series of Platoon F, I actually kept the outtakes. And so things where I was just laughing my ass off while I was recording it and I couldn't get through it. And it's interesting, that is the biggest thing. And look, how many of us didn't, we always hoped that they would laugh in Carol Burnett. That's the best part. Saturday Night Live.
Absolutely.
We want to see them lose it.
Yes.
And outtakes at the end of movies or comedy films, you want to see that stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. And so
you're making a great point. Be yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, you're naturally funny. That's why you and Claire together. That show's going to be awesome because you're going to feed off each other. And Claire's dark humor is hilarious. And she's working on a serial killer series that I'm looking forward to because it will be dark as hell and funny as hell.
Yeah, and Noah did the serial killer. What was the title?
Oh, Sometimes They Get Away. No, not supernatural serial killers. So yeah, a how-to guide and things for that. So
Claire,
that's pretty
talking to you, Noah.
Yeah.
And
well, I'll send her a free copy if she wants to check it out. It's on Kindle Unlimited too. But yeah.
And so the point is, you may admire somebody who's doing really well, and like I did, and think, there's just not a way I can do that. So take it and adjust it to you, and just keep going. And you're going to find not everything's going to work, or you're going to decide, boy, I do not like doing that. And just keep going and change it and do something else. Yeah.
Or do it at the last book of the series. If you're wrapping up a series or wrapping up an arc of the series, say this arc was blah, 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 or whatever. It's funny because there was actually, I had mistakenly left a screw up in an audiobook. I had done the piece and then I just started laughing in it as I was laughing through it and everything else. And then I was just like, wow. And I kept going, and which you never do. You're supposed to stop and then fix and so on and so forth, right? But I actually just laughed, and I was laughing really hard, and then I kept laughing as I continued through it. And I was like, I know I have to come back and do this again, but I'm just going to roll with it right now.
Yeah.
My audio producer thought that I wanted to leave it in there because I forgot to take it out. And so he was just like, it took me forever to get through this because he says, I was laughing so hard through this. And he says, but awesome. It's in there. And I went, oh shit. I didn't mean to leave that in there. And he goes, I think you should leave it in there. And I was like, all right, but I mean, that's not really, people are reading for a professional. But then I thought comedy first. So I said, screw it. All right, let's do it. Leave it in there. So we left it in there. And I have gotten people, say, just in the middle of this thing to hear that you were laughing. So it just made the whole series more fun for me because I can tell how much you are having fun.
Yep.
So I think it makes a difference.
Genuine. And you were genuine. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it makes a difference. We have Tatiana just showed up and she says,
thank you, Tatiana. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Speaking of which, if you guys have any questions, please ask them now. We're starting to get to the 12:20 mark, so we're going to need to wrap up here soon. But I just want to say, if you do have any questions for Martha, please ask them. We're questions for author stuff or whatever, and we can all kind of chime in, whatever. But please ask them now. Bye, Sharon. Have a good one. So she has to get dinner ready.
I also, if you write to me, I do actually write back. I say it all the time. Fortunately, hundreds have not taken up the challenge, but yes, if you write to me, I will write you back.
Yeah, that's true with all of us. I think, that's one of the key things is that as an author, if you're, getting into this and so on, write back. Yeah. Make sure.
And don't say thanks for writing. Dig in a little and share a little bit about what's going on with you. What's next? Okay, great question. Thank you for asking that. So, so Dwarf Bounty Hunter is doing really well, and a spinoff series is going to be Academy of Necessary Magic, and it's a new magic school started by Johnny Walker, the dwarf, James Brownstone, and Lyra Barron. So the three bounty hunters have started their own school for kids because, you know, who shouldn't be in charge of kids but vicious bounty hunters?
The Assassination Classroom for anime, that people would have seen that.
And so it's going to be in the swamp. It's going to be in the Everglades of Florida too, and it's called Academy of Necessary Magic. The first book, Shifter in the Swamp, comes out January 24th, which is in about a week.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's fun. So my idea of YA is a little more action adventure than most people's idea. I like some butt kicking
and this one's the one that you wrote.
Yeah. And it's started by Lyra, James Brownstone, and Johnny Walker, who's from Dwarf Bounty. So it's got, you know, more of a edgier tone, which I actually think that's really true YA. I don't care for something that's a little too sweet. But you know, it has I think one of the main tropes of YA is what am I going to be? Who am I? And friendships. And so that's really a strong element in that. But yeah. And so if you like School of Necessary Magic, this is Academy of Necessary Magic, an offshoot of that, if that makes any sense. So that's what's coming up next.
Right. So that's interesting because you've mentioned spinoffs a couple times. I mean, I'm assuming it's kind of an organic thing, but what's your approach to who gets spun off and for what reason?
Well, I pay attention to the reviews. I pay attention to what the fans are saying and who they're asking about consistently. And I also ask myself, do I feel like there's enough of a story here? I talk to Michael and see if it gets hidden jazzed, because I think Michael's like the canary in the coal mine. And if he says, I just don't see it, I don't do it, because I mean, he's just been a really good touchstone for, you know, when I know that it's going to do well, when he gets so excited, he starts shooting comedy lines at me. And so I look for characters that are offshoots that can really be opened up and explored. You have to build it enough that there's enough there to maybe run for 8 books. So I'm always looking for something that can run for at least 8 books. It may not if I manage to pick a flop, which has only happened maybe once, thank God, but it can happen. So, and I'm doing things in arcs of 3, so that if it does turn out that not enough people really cared about this one, I can still end the story for the fans who were there at 3 and they don't feel like they were cheated, and then, you know, still leave enough seeds so that I can keep it going to 8. If that made any sense. So
arcs of 3, but ending at 8, because it's interesting because John usually says that you should end on an odd number, right? So what's your rationale for 8 books?
I picked it out of the sky and have been doing it for now 3 years.
Yeah.
So
Actually, it's an interesting psychology thing, because if you look at 8 books, what generally people would think is, oh, that means there will be more.
And sometimes there is. I mean, Lyra is now in book 14. Gothdraw is mega books, and it's really 18 of them. And Johnny Walker, the dwarf bounty hunter, is doing so well it may go longer. It kind of depends. And also, do I want to keep writing? So I've taken breaks from Lyra because at some point I just need a break. But then I get excited again. And Lyra jumps ahead in time. So now she's got a grown daughter that I can bounce off of. You know, yeah.
So what is your target words total for a book usually?
It is, so book 1, the target is higher because everybody reads the first book, and that's generally about 80,000. I find it seems to lose, 80,000 seems to be the sweet spot for urban fantasy. And after book 1, between 60 and 80, maybe 70 being the perfect place.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody's different. It's just like, for example, for me, it's 50 to 60. Or I think Orlando does around 50 as well. Stuff like that. And, you know,
My answer was more of a
machine.
KU
I mean, just boom, boom, boom. Yeah. So.
I was giving you more of a marketing KU answer with the word count. And, you know, and it is important if you're doing series, do keep in mind, everybody reads the first book.
Yep.
And so that's going to be your highest page count because everyone will go to the end.
Exactly. Okay. So interesting. Let's see. Is anybody else here? Let's see. No, I mean, we have this. This is from Beck. I know it says Facebook user, but she put her name.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for reading it. And just know that you can, it's she answered with Beck. So Beck, you managed to also donate to other writers out there because they give grants of $300 or $400. But if I remember there was an elderly gentleman who wrote in whose toilet had broken and they gave him the money to fix it. And if you have a broken toilet, you know, the money to fix it's huge.
Yeah, that's shitty.
Yeah, it's okay. But
there we go.
I miss you, John.
Thank you.
Love James Brownstone. And Allison Brownstone, and which led to Izzy, who is Lyra's daughter. Yeah, it's all connected.
So yeah, how many universes do you work in now? Because I see the
There's 2.
I can't remember. Yeah, that's what I was trying
to.
There's
Terra Novis, and there's Orus Aaron, and Orus Aaron's the big mother. And Michael swears to this day that he asked me if I wanted to do a series with him, and I heard universe. But when I started building universe, he didn't stop me. And he says, yeah, well, you were excited. So I don't know. So we have an entire universe.
And you let other people play in it.
Yeah. And I love it because, and I will also, so you can't borrow characters that somebody else has created, but which is unique. I understand others do let characters wander, but you can borrow magical. So I will go and look to see, like, did T.R. Cameron come up with a new magical, just a kind of species, and I'll bring it over into mine so that there's some crossover.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
Yeah, we've done a little too, just to, you know, continuity and plus fun, you know, and something that you haven't done yet. And so, what are you involved in recruiting authors into the various things?
I don't recruit. They find me, but we did do 2 Fans Write for Fans, or Sharon Fans Write for Fans, and that's where we found T.R. Cameron. He was so good that we asked him, you know, you want to come on in?
Right on.
But often people are asking us, and then we go check out what they've written, what's their idea, you know, do you have a good idea? So, and that's a great way to do it, because if somebody's approaching us and they've read maybe all of Orus Aaron, they already know all the backstory, because there's a lot by now, and they come with an idea because it's kind of been fermenting in their brain. Right.
Yeah, that's cool. So are you going to, I mean, obviously you're going to continue down this path and so on, because you're having fun and everything else. What about once the pandemic is done, are we doing another conference? What are we doing here?
Oh, you mean Austin Summit?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You got to see what I've done to the house. There's a very lovely garden going in the backyard shortly. I told the designer my goal was when you come in the gate, you forget where you are. And it's more My Secret Garden, very little hardscape. So you guys got to check that out. And I want to give Rami a few rides around town, of course.
Oh, yeah. Alone. I won't be in that car.
At night. Yeah. Alone at night.
Yeah.
So a garden that grows naturally fast.
I got to spray I have a bottle of water. Because it's the only thing to get her attention. Somebody is daring to walk their dog in front of the window.
How dare they?
How dare they?
So I was thinking crawl space, but now her garden is she's talking about. So whenever you start digging up, well, I'm thinking arsenic and old lace now at this point. I'm just
like how the peaches are growing well.
Exactly. I can see that. No, really, I want you guys to come to the conference because there's a new garden.
I offer you a lime.
Yes.
Look at that there. Thump.
All of the food here is almond flavored. Don't mind that.
You know, yeah, really. Kimbra would help me bury you, John. I just feel confident. Yes.
Yeah, and I'd be going, wait, not yet.
Problem with that.
Yeah. And Claire would be assisting with, no, you need lime so that there's no smell.
And then another.
Sorry, we just can't leave witnesses, but thanks for the tip.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are really great ideas. Thank you.
We're all going to be on a watch list after this, but if we weren't by now,
I probably already am. Yeah.
It reminds me of what was that movie? Loaded Weapon. That's what it was, with Whoopi Goldberg and the guy from Rocky Horror. Come on, what's his name?
Tim Curry.
Yeah, when he's Wilderness Girls, and he says, well, where is it? And he says, oh, it's downtown on 3rd and 4th or whatever, 3rd and A, like that. And he goes, I guess, okay, thank you, and shoots her. Right? And then she goes, wait, but you want to take the bridge? You don't want to go through the tunnel. There's like that. And he goes, oh, good point. Thanks again. It's the same idea. Yeah. It's like lime, huh? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And we'd be friends with someone like that. Yeah. So Charlie and I met at the London 20 Books Conference, and we were both sitting in one of the little sitting areas, but you could order a drink. And I told this very young waiter that Prosecco, and he said, "Oh, skinny Prosecco." And Charlie claims I glared at him, but I very coolly said to him, "How about just a regular Prosecco?" And
I didn't know the difference. So.
I don't even know what skinny Prosecco means to this day. But the poor guy looked a little scared and scurried off. And Charlie said that's when he knew we'd be friends.
When you threaten the help, okay.
So we went to this Mexican restaurant on my 35th birthday or some crap, and so it was a long time ago. And I always order this drink that is Kahlua with cream on top and ice, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's called a sombrero. So I asked for a sombrero, and the guy brought me a hat. And he's probably thinking, why does this guy want a sombrero? I was like, yeah, I'd like a sombrero, please. He looks at me kind of funny. It's like, okay. And he comes back with this big ass hat, and he sets it on my head. And I was like, thanks.
Did you roll with it, though? You got to commit to the
customer is always right, and so he went and searched out a hat for you.
He got a great tip. I was just like, I meant the drink. I mean, after 2 or 3 drinks, I probably want the hat, but
he's going, yeah, here's your sombrero. We took it off the donkey. It's got
So yeah,
make your drink extra strong. It's gonna smell a little funny.
Yeah.
Also, for everybody who's watching who has no idea what Austin Summit is, I created it, just a quick backstory. I created it because I think once you've started to get to a certain point of success, it's harder to find people that you can say, I'm really scared about this. This isn't going well. Mm-hmm. Or it's harder to share your good idea. And so I wanted to give everybody a small group of people they could rely on and go be their most authentic self and tell the truth and share something and know that person wouldn't then go share it with 50,000 others and have their own water cooler. And so it became the Austin Summit. And also I didn't want to fly anywhere. So
yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. John's obviously more successful than I am, but I tend to get invited to these conversations because I just don't really care about people. So I'm not going to go and tell stories about them. I don't get impressed in all these things. Yeah. Because I once blew off an interview with the governor because I was running, I had to go do something, I was like, sorry, I got to go grocery shopping or something. The paper's done for the semester anyway, and I just kind of, that's just me.
It's not arrogance either. He's just a dick.
I'm just like, I treat everyone the same, but I just don't treat anybody that well.
Exactly. So, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not arrogant. I'm just a dick.
Yeah. That'll be when's your birthday, John? I'll make you a t-shirt.
March 14th.
Oh, it's coming up.
Yeah. I'm not arrogant. I'm just a dick. I will wear the t-shirt proudly. On the show. Yeah. And by the way, just a public service announcement. It's pronounced Grand Marnier, not Grand Mariner. Just letting y'all know.
Grand Mariner.
Just letting y'all know, because when you call it Grand Mariner, you get funny looks.
And a sombrero.
Just say it. All right. Well, look, we probably ought to wrap this up. It looks like we don't have any additional questions that come in, but thank you. Did you see some more?
Oh, no, Chris just said, just don't give a shit. No, I just to keep with the theme, I don't give a dwarf. So yeah.
So anyway, thank you for joining on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's fun. I can't wait until we can start actually getting together as groups again and going to the conferences and all that stuff. I honestly have learned that I hate travel. I've always said that I can't stand travel, but I usually right before conferences start, like 20 Bookstore or NINC or whatever, about a week in, I start getting super stressed out. And so I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And then I go because it's the travel I hate. It's not that I don't want to be at the conference. I just hate the travel part. And so I get there and then I'm like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave because I start realizing I got to get back on the freaking plane.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And I've lived in 4 countries and I hate going to the mall. I mean,
no, I love that, but it's just like, it's the travel part.
I understand the logistics. You don't like the logistics, but you like the people.
Hate it. Plus, I watch too much air disasters. That's the one thing my wife and I said. We watch air disasters, and we're just like, oh, what's going to happen this time? What's going to happen this time? And so now we've gotten to the point where it's just like, I hope it never happens. But if we're in the plane and it's just like, oh, the plane's going down, we're going to be on air disasters.
We're going to be
silver lining,
Silver lining. When it happens, I'll know to just raise a glass.
Exactly. That's it. You just go, oh, I think John's on this episode and everything else. And it's a real shame because we had a plot for him in my backyard. So
who are we putting in instead?
Who are we gonna put there instead? Hey Noah, how's it going?
Yeah, if they pay for my ticket, I'll go wherever you want me to go. I'm not big.
You don't
I just want to get out of the house.
And it's
I'm not sure he's following the thread exactly, John, but he'll make it great beneath the orange tree.
Exactly. It's a one-way ticket too. You don't have to worry about round trip.
Right. Save a few bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this was the weirdest podcast I've been on so far.
Yeah, this is tame for us. So this is good to know.
Dysfunctional family.
Go back and watch the one with Nazri if you never want to look John or I in the eyes again.
That was pretty messed up. But anyway, it was fun. Thank you again for showing up and for being part of this. It was a lot of fun, and we hope to see you again soon.
I'm sure you will. I'll see you around the water cooler.
Rock and roll. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for showing up.